This is MFG Out Loud. Courageous conversations about sales and marketing for today's manufacturers. With your hosts, Ray Zaganto and Allison DeFore.
Howdy, Trailblazers. How's it going, Ray?
Hey, living the dream. How about you?
Yeah. You know, it's funny how quickly, well, we've been talking about this for weeks now, how quickly things change and how fast it feels like we're in this Red Sea.
Explain.
Like, I feel like we're drowning in care, in sappy videos, in webinars. I don't know. Do you feel this? Is it just me?
I think no, I agree. I think there's an abundance of that out there, but all of that stuff that we see, you can't forget that there's a choice in whether you want to continue to look at it or not. I think I'm starting to come out of the habit of gravitating towards that type of stuff and really being excited about spotting alternatives, some alternative language. It doesn't mean the situation is any less serious, but looking for something that's perhaps a little more future focused is motivating to me right now. How about you?
No, I totally agree. And, you know, I think that's what we want to talk about today, right? Is creating a new value curve. Same time while we're flattening the curve, the other, we want to build a new value curve for our customers. And at the same time, I think we end up building a better customer experience and strengthening those relationships that we have, right? And really giving people an alternative. Because I think what you just said is perfect. I think that's what they're looking for right now. You know, something that's not what's become the norm so quickly, right?
Right. And part of it is, you know, you've got just got to get out of the echo chamber. And I'm a geek for all kinds of different literature. There's a very well-known academic, Peter Senge, wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline, and he talks about the importance of dialogue. And the difference being, it's, you know, an actor on a stage reciting lines, the meaning never changes. But as soon as someone from the audience challenges those words, it completely changes the dynamic of what's going on. And I think we're at that point, you know, right now where we need to be actively looking for ways to change the conversation.
Absolutely. And you know, this week, as you know, every week, meet with the Super Friends.
Yep.
And I have been doing that for, oh my God, 7 years, I think. And we always land on an amazing topic. And this week, as I've already shared with you, we were talking about, you know, the blue ocean strategy, right? And the 4-action framework. I think this is something that would really help our listeners to create that alternative experience for customers. So I thought maybe we could unpack that today.
Sure. Is this there are parts of that sound very familiar? Is there an author associated with that, or a book or an article, or is this some common knowledge everybody but me knows about?
No, the blue ocean strategy. I should know who the author is right now. So
Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot. I've heard the blue ocean thing.
Most people in our audience know of this book. We will put the author's name and give credit where credit is due in the show.
You are all smarter than us.
But the idea of, do you want to swim in a sea of red, which is kind of what it feels like right now in a really short amount of time, or do you want to continue swimming towards that blue ocean, right? Where you're a category of one, where you're creating an experience that customers can only get from you. And so that was the idea behind our topic this week.
Awesome. Let's tear it apart.
So this strategy recognizes that people want and need something different right now, right? We've talked about that. They're hungry for it. They're seeking it. And I think what a better opportunity, right, for manufacturers than to seize this moment. And, I know a lot of people are, at least that I've talked to for sure, are feeling kind of stuck. Expenses have been frozen. Marketers that I work with are feeling, I think, frustrated. They don't have the same ability, right, to act as quickly right now. They're kind of feeling at a loss for what do we say? How do we treat this? And then some are just resisting saying anything other than calling their customers directly. But prospective customers aren't hearing anything. So a few of these things have concerned me.
Yep.
And so a couple of things that that you and I talked about this 4-action framework is to identify, well, how are people feeling right now? And what should we avoid, or what should we do instead? And I think we could all agree big is not the way to go right now. Right? Small, people are willing to make small concessions, small commitments. So why don't we embrace that? And because, right, short-term wins are good for them and they're good for us. Right. So adapting what we're doing to address that is really important. You look like you have a thought.
One of the things that's coming to mind when you talk about the short-term thing, I think so much of the conversation, I know we'll get to in a little bit, but on the sales side of things is to don't underestimate the importance of, when you talk short-term ROI. It's like, I get spending money is not the top of your list right now, but if you can, for every dollar you bet, get a $5 return, how often do you want to place that bet, or something, make that case as early in the conversation as possible.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And with momentum being in flux, people need that boost, that reassurance. Action speaks louder than words, right? That was our last episode.
Yeah.
And this falls right in line with that. And in terms of sales, here's another biggie.
Yeah.
And I want you to jump in on this. Is it still appropriate right now and important?
Doing sales, the sales function, is mission critical. The reason being, I had a series of conversations today with past and prospective clients and a couple of just friends in the industry, just to touch base. And there were a couple of conversations were what I guess I had built up in my mind they would be, in that times are tough, tremendous layoff, really uncertain, don't know how we're going to make it. And it was like, that's what you're reading the news. And I was sorry to hear that, and tried to offer the best counsel I could. There were also some surprises on the other end. Businesses that actually said, we've had a swing of 30 people, minus, and then had to add back in the last 4 weeks. And it still looks like 2020 could still continue to be a record year for them. So one of the things you really have to knock out of your head immediately is applying a blanket perception to the entire market, because there are companies out there that are booming. There are companies that are well positioned to ride out this what we hope to be a short-term contraction, and they're actually using that time to test new ideas, new techniques, new tools, those types of things. So don't lose the opportunity before you even pick up the phone. Sales is still very much important. Start with a conversation, and let your customer determine where that conversation is going to go. If they're booming, have at it. In the context of their new normal, how can you help put some gas on the fire for them? You know, if they're struggling, how can you help give them some guidance or some comfort through this? You know, right now, there's your value add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one really important thing that I learned from Brendan Burchard, who is the author of High Performance Habits.
Mm-hmm.
He said, before you get on a call, before you start writing an email, before you get onto a Zoom call,
Mm-hmm.
I would say step into a meeting, but we're not doing that right now. He said, release tension, set intention. And so releasing the tension that you're feeling, even if it doesn't seem like it's overwhelming, just the mere act of saying, I'm releasing tension and I'm setting an intention for this call, like this podcast, right?
Yeah. I
always set an intention of being of great service, of being creative and open, and hopefully providing just incredible value to at least one person, right?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about popularity or, trying to get 1 million listeners. This is about a one-to-one connection with the people that are in our tribe. So if that helps anybody, I have found great value in that. Release tension, set intention. I think that goes along with what you were just saying of, if you have an expectation of what something's going to be like a phone call, sometimes that affects how you show up.
Or you won't show up. You'll talk yourself out of making the call. Hey, everybody's in trouble. Why would this guy or this person even want to talk about this? And you'd be surprised. I've been doing this a long time, and I still get surprised. So to that release tension and set intention,
yep.
It's for the sales side. Perhaps it's a new level of pre-call preparation. Before you engage, what are the scenarios you might face?
Mm-hmm.
Might be tough. They might not want to hear. Under those circumstances, what are you going to do? If they're booming and if they're facing a whole different set of challenges, what are you going to do? What's your response? If you've already run those scenarios, it's a lot easier to deal with when you're on the call. You're that much more genuine, when you're talking to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good practice anyway, but I would venture to guess that a seasoned salesperson, I don't know if they all do that. I know some that do, but I think it would certainly be a great refresher if you're struggling right now.
I think it's a reminder. Some successful salespeople do it naturally. Some have been trained to do it intentionally. I would hazard a guess that the majority, if you haven't revisited it in a while, it's a good thing to, especially now, to have top of mind. I think the seasoned professionals will find some creative ways to innovate around that.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing that every day, and especially on LinkedIn. So I would tell people, if you are not active on LinkedIn, jump in, because there is so much amazing, inspiration from sales and marketing people and leaders in this industry that I admire so much. And it just, it feels like fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would just highly encourage people, if you're not already, jump in and spend, even if you spend 10 minutes a day, that's really little amount of time for the return that you get on that time.
Yep. I agree.
I agree. So how do people put this framework to use, right? How you implement this framework with your customers and with your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. Customers and with your team right now. Okay. How do you decide what to choose, right? We're talking about what's something that's never been done before in our industry. I don't know. Right? And we've all felt that. It's this sort of stumped feeling. So the 4 things they recommend doing before we start brainstorming in this framework is 1, eliminate. And you think, well, what does that mean? Eliminate something that attendees or customers in this case, like attendees would be if you were thinking about a trade show experience. But if you're thinking about a customer experience, what could you eliminate? Something they take for granted. I think in this case, it could be face-to-face. Even though that's something we all love, I don't know if we realized it quite as much as we do now. Lack of touch. There is no handshaking going on. There is no hugging, high-fiving, and that is changing things. So if you eliminate, number one, two, this recommends reducing. So what if you take something that's well below industry standard and repurpose it? Like the money you would have spent on your trade show, travel, your team's travel, entertainment, your venue. Oh my God, that is so much money that could be repurposed this year for to implement some of these new and groovy ideas that we're going to brainstorm here in a minute.
Sure.
The other thing they suggest is raising. So what could you raise well above industry standards, like visuals, resources, human or personal touch when that's acceptable again? And then four, what can you create? What should be offered that the industry has never offered before? Okay, so eliminate, reduce, raise, and create. So let's help people brainstorm some things that maybe have never been done in the industry before or for your customers yet. And the first thing I'm going to throw out there is a virtual live demo series.
Yep.
So what better way, right? Since people are spending time online right now. I haven't seen everybody doing this. Have you?
Yeah.
Where you're creating these demos but make it live. Invite people to join.
Oh, okay. Okay. I've seen some excellent use of demos. They weren't live, but there's a couple of people I follow online. In fact, one that comes to mind instantly is a company called Elijah Tool, and they do specialty work holding stuff for the CNC industry and machining industries. Really innovative, and the president of the company, these little 10 to 15 minute vignettes they're awesome. They're entertaining, informative, gets to the point, and really showcases what they do. And he's been doing it for a long time, and he stood out before, certainly stands out now. And I think many more companies could and should do that real effectively. And I love the idea of doing it live. I think that's cool.
And the other thing is like a virtual trade show booth experience, right? I've seen, I'm sure there's more than one, but I've seen one company on LinkedIn take advantage of this so far. I mean, and I have thousands of connections. So my question is, I'm guessing that your customers aren't getting this from everybody. If I've seen, right? This seems more like a blue ocean kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where set your trade show booth up out in your warehouse. Everybody's got a MacGyver, right? Everybody's got a video person, or this doesn't have to be fancy, but give people that tour so they can still see what's new. Don't rely on them happening to come to your website or finding your social media post that said, hey, like, I think this is a real opportunity to invite people, number one, in every way possible, at every touch point. Invite them and then give them an experience, and maybe do a toast, have a cocktail. I mean, it's same thing with lunch and learns.
Yeah.
What if you did a live lunch and learn and you had DoorDash or Grubhub deliver lunch to them across the country, wherever they are?
That's a great idea.
Right? And you're live doing your presentation and they can ask questions, and I don't know, to me, it's the next best thing to actually being there.
Yeah. I think interactive is so key as we're all getting more comfortable. If you haven't used, pick your online platform, whether it's Zoom or anything else, a lot in the past, but you are now, then the prospect of getting to that next thing. Okay, I've watched some videos or some webinars. But again, creating that hangout where it's like, hey, at any time of day, I want to go jump onto this hangout. What if it was with your engineering department? And you happen to have a terminal or something that was going live, and if you had a question, a customer could basically, ring a bell, knock on the door virtually or whatever, and hey, how can I help you? What do you need to know right now? Done, instantaneous.
I love that. And another thing that you brought, you always trigger other thoughts in my head. What if you had your customer service team invite people to, again, do like a live Q&A?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, if you have any questions about our products, like we know people have asked this or this,
Yep.
Our customer service rep, Meg or John, they're going to do a live Q&A session with you, Facebook or on Zoom.
Yep.
But if it's on like Facebook or Instagram, you don't even have to sign up. You just show up.
Right.
So,
right. Yep. And I think the more I look at how, because part of the response to what's going on is the technological response. And what technology is going to be really good at is automating the transactional nature of our businesses. Yep. So where you had salespeople taking down orders or customer service people, doing the transactions are going to get automated. It's going to happen. So your ability to differentiate on how personalized you make that transaction, it's going to become irrelevant. So it's got to move to that next phase. What is the next opportunity to be able to engage like a human being, with your customers? Distributors and technology and everything are going to take care of the rest. So how do you do that? And that's really what we're being migrated towards. I hesitate to say forced, but here we are.
For sure. And I think as part of the pivoting, I know people are sick of hearing that word. I think this is the time to do that, right? You're preparing for that future, even though you're not sure where the finish line is. Think of this as a really long race.
Yeah.
I mean, business is anyway, but, and instead of limiting yourself right now and just reacting, and feeling kind of like, putting out fires. I think this is a time where I have seen some manufacturers really step up and just, how do I want to say this? They're trying different things. It's so exciting to see people trying something new without waiting for competitors to do it first.
Yeah.
Or without waiting for it to be perfect.
Here's the other thing. Please do not wait for it to return to the way it was. Because in all my heart and head, I don't think we're going to see a full return to the way it was. And everything we have talked about right now, these are small bets.
Yeah.
I mean, none of these are mortgage the house, sell the cars, if from a few dollars to a few $100, to try on a customer that's generating, a significant portion of your income or a prospect that you're trying to find. To your point, since you're not putting salespeople on airplanes or attending trade shows, why wouldn't you try this? And see what works best for you and your tribe.
Exactly. And, speaking of that, what I think not enough manufacturers are taking advantage of the mail right now. So one manufacturer in the wood industry that I love is Windsor One.
Okay.
And they are incredibly creative. And one of the things that they do regularly, but especially right now, is they send people care packages. And then guess what? The customer or prospective customer posts about it online, which I happen to see another one of those today about them. Hey man, thanks for the care package. It was a cool hat and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
This is not a lot of money. And something that, people love to get something in the mail.
I got a true story. Years ago, had the buyer with one of the major customers for the company I was working with at the time. was in a part of the country that had an uncommon snowstorm, and it caught him by such surprise that there was a premium on getting shovels. So we went to the hardware store, bought a shovel, and shipped it out to him with a note that said, "Here's for all the time you dug us out." And he kept that in his office, no matter what time. He was so thrilled, to get it. Was a $20 shovel and a FedEx expense, and it was just take the time to do something like that, because that's people remember that. It's not silly or inappropriate. You're being human. You've got a relationship here, and you want them to know you're thinking about them.
That's it. It's being thoughtful.
Yeah.
Right? All these things that we're talking about are going the extra mile and being thoughtful. I was thinking about that the other day. I was out. I had to get a few groceries, and I thought, it's sad that it's taken a pandemic for people to become more thoughtful. Mm-hmm. But it's also great.
Yeah. Well, a real quick one. The science behind human beings in distress is our natural predisposition is to run towards and comfort others. And what makes this weird is that we're not allowed to give that hug that we want to give to people that are suffering, or in danger. So it's part of human nature to reach out. That is how we're wired.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much research on that. I've been looking at that, and I think that we should probably do an episode on that in the future soon.
Cool.
But another thing, this may sound crazy to some manufacturers, but I'm going to suggest it anyway. I don't know if you, Ray, because I haven't asked you, are following John Krasinski, the actor.
I know what he's doing. I haven't seen it myself.
Oh my God, it's the ever. This to me is the epitome of creativity. Now you're going to say, sure, he's an actor. This is easy for him. Well, he didn't have to do this, but he decided to do something good and to do something different. And he created SGN. That stands for Some Good News. He created, so it's this fake little news show that he posts on YouTube. It's once a week, and he shows you what good news is out there.
That's awesome.
With humor, it's not fancy. It's probably his lovely wife, Emily Blunt, behind the camera. He had his kids draw the logo. It's brilliant. So I thought, I haven't seen a manufacturer. Again, everybody has somebody, right? Every manufacturer that I work with, they have this guy or gal that works for them that is sort of the jack of all trades. They are good at video. They're pretty good at content. They're pretty personable and outspoken and quite a character. What if you had that person start something like this, even if it was a 5-minute segment every week for the next 2 months? What kind of value could you bring to your customers? Again, this is not something everyone else is doing for them. So just a suggestion, but God, the response to SGN has been incredible. So
that's cool.
Just
that is cool.
There that, you don't have to call it SGN because I'm pretty sure he's trademarking that.
There you go.
You can make up your own thing.
Cool.
And this is going to sound nuts, but I saw this. A family created a safe hug like doorway thing. Grandma could put her arms through the family member. And I thought, holy shit, what if the manufacturer created this for their next trade show? This does not cost a lot of money. And again, people probably think I'm nuts, and that's okay. But I thought this would be ingenious. And you could take people's pictures, right? Hugging each other or handshake.
Right.
If handshake wall. Put that out there because I thought it was great.
That's cool.
One other thing that's really small before we wrap up is you could have your salespeople reach out to customers, which I know they are already. Ask the customer to shoot you a quick video of how they're holding up. right?
Yeah.
What maybe one good thing that's happened to them because of this whole experience, and
Right.
ask them if you could share it on your social feeds,
Yeah.
giving them props, giving them a shout out. You could even do a little vignette of several customers, and I think it just really shows the human side of your
I like that because it goes to a lot of the transactional stuff we work on. People know each other through phone calls and emails and stuff like that. And if you just did hey, let's put a face to the name, and we're thinking of you, and if you ever need anything, think this is who's going to help you out.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So again, these are all just, they don't take a lot of manpower. They don't take a lot of money. They just take some thought. So
Right.
now
I love it.
if you find this helpful, give us a shout out or a direct message or an email and let us know. Or if you have questions that you would like answered or a conversation you would like us to have, a courageous conversation about sales and marketing for manufacturers, we're all ears.
Yeah.
As always, we are all in this together, and Ray and I are here for you, and it isn't just lip service. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of this tribe. And if you care to, we'd appreciate you subscribing and sharing this. So tell a colleague to tune in and get real already.
And remember, keep manufacturing out loud. We need you. Talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to MFG Out Loud with Ray Zaganto and Allison DeFore. You can subscribe and find show notes at mfgoutloud.com.